Welcome to another episode of the Flex Work Podcast. We are remote today with Wally Green. Wally, welcome to the show, and thanks for doing this for us.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. This was a surprise to me. Obviously, wasn't originally scheduled to do this, but we're doing it. So I promise that my Lifetime Pickleball water bottle was not like a product placement. That is genuine. I genuinely had it with me today. I was really using it, and this is my next destination when we're done here. So, quick plug for Lifetime Pickleball from me. So, they told me I was interviewing you. I looked you up. Turns out we have a couple mutual friends. A very weird list, by the way. If you want to go check Instagram after, like it's such a weird list for me. I'm wondering how you have the same weird list of intersected people that we're both mutually connected to. But
it could be a recent list.
Of course, Matt Kravitsky, Not Guilty Pickleball is the first one that popped up. I was like, oh boy, but any mutual friend of Matt is a mutual friend of mine. I noticed in your bio it says serial podcast guest. Okay, so how does that happen?
Give me 1 second, real quick.
Yeah, sure.
I just need to. All right, that's better.
Okay.
All right, what was the question again?
So I saw on your bio on Instagram it says serial podcast guest. How does that happen?
Oh man, I think since in the last 2.5 years or 3 years, I think I've been interviewed more than 350 times at least.
That is.
I'm also the keynote speaker for Podfest, which is one of the bigger podcasting conventions. So yeah, I've been around the block a lot.
And let's go back to the beginning. I mean, how did you enter this space? What were you what were you doing 10 years ago, obviously before pickleball was big, and, take us through that journey that's led you to where you're at now.
Yeah. So the way I entered this space was actually during the pandemic, because I didn't really enter the space until the pandemic came, like towards the middle of it. And I was trying to figure out, okay, we can't do anything. We can't go anywhere. What am I going to do besides go out to the park and hit balls against the wall? And I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I want to do more podcasts, right? Because I did a guy named James Altucher, who's very famous in the financial world. I did his podcast, and it came out really well. And I was like, you know what? I need to do more. And when you speak, your computer listens to you.
Of course.
And so, right. So, you say things start popping up. So this course or this thing popped up with this podcaster. And it was like, yeah, join this thing for $200 or whatever. And I was like, okay, now I'm getting all these ads on Facebook. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And then another time it popped up and it said, pay like $150 and you could go on a Zoom call with podcasters and the lead guy. And I said, okay, that might be beneficial, because once I tell my story, people are just going to want to eat it up. So I did that. I paid whatever it was and got on this Zoom call, made sure I was the first to the Zoom call, because I know how Zoom works. If you're first, you're going to be next to the host, right? So I made sure I was the first one, and I was next to the host. And, when they said funny things, I would do like a funny dance so that they would notice. And I told my story, and then they invited me to Clubhouse. Clubhouse was an audio app that was really popular back then. And I started going into these podcasting rooms and telling my story. And then everyone wanted to interview me. And that's how I started. And then I said, you know what? I need to get a Guinness Book of World Records for the most interviewed podcast person.
You still working? Do you know what that is? What is the, is there a record for it?
I don't even think there is one. It was just a joke that I was always saying that I want to get the Guinness Book of World Records.
Well, I mean, at this point, if there is no record, it should be easy to get it. So, you don't have to break it. You just have to create it.
Yeah, facts.
I'd say 1,000. That's probably a good number. Then you can call up the Guinness people, and
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
So tell us a little bit about that story. What's your backstory?
Yeah, so I grew up in the projects. I grew up with a very abusive, narcissistic stepfather. My mom and dad divorced. I don't know. I probably was one because I don't have any memory of my mom and dad together. Um, my stepfather was illiterate, so he couldn't read. He legit couldn't read, couldn't write at all, like zero. But he got by because he was a master carpenter, so he could build anything. Like he went to trade school. He was like when I say like the best of the best carpenters, that was his level. My mom had some college. I think she had a bachelor's. But he was the kind of person that would say, this is his house and whatever he says, that's the way it goes. And he treated me like that, treated my mom like that. Used to beat up my mom all the time. Used to always tell me things like you'll never be successful, you'll be a failure, you'll be dead or in jail. And a lot of these things had kind of like a system to it, right? So there would be times I would come home from school and I'd be like maybe 7. And then he would say, oh, how was your day today? And I might go, oh, it was fun. And then he would say, well, it doesn't matter because you're going to fail anyway. No matter how good your day is. So he used to try to put these things into our heads to keep us below him. And that's where I grew up. It made me very violent inside. So by 13 years of this kind of abuse, um, I went opposite route. Like a lot of kids, they go into thinking they want to take their lives and stuff like that, or they go into drugs. I went into gangs. So by 12 years old, I was already joining a gang. By 13, I already owned guns. I took everything that happened to me, I took out on other people, right? So if I walked into a wall and there was someone next to me, that person was going to get the problem. And I just grew up like that. And it was a way to um, I don't know. It was a way to just cope with all the madness that was going on in my house. Like when you see your mother get beat up every day, you want to protect her. And it's hard to protect her because that's where you live. And if you protect her, then you get punished. Or if you protect her, then she turns against you. And now both of them are against you, right? So it just kind of puts you between a rock and a hard spot. So that was my life growing up as a kid.
And then, how did you? Was there a point that you reached where you said this has to change, or did it happen for you, or how did you turn it all around?
Yeah. So I think the biggest turning point came when I was 14 years old. I got arrested in school for possession of a weapon, a loaded weapon, and I had a lot of problems before. Not so much with getting caught with weapons, but with other things where there was lots of police contact. And I always had good grades. So the crazy thing about this is I always had good grades. The reason why I had good grades was because I had people doing my work for me. So I had a team. You could call it a team of people that helped me get through school because the other half of me was sports. I needed sports. I noticed that whenever I was on a team or I did any kind of sport, I was less violent. Sports made me a lot less violent. So I needed to be on every single team in school. And the only way you can stay on a team in school is if you have passing grades or you'll fail. So I had kids that helped me do my work. I had kids that helped me take notes. And in return, they would get protection, sort of protection. I got your back, right? And then, so anyway, back to the judge. So I get arrested. We're before the judge, and now the judge is thinking about they're thinking about 10 years in jail. So which is crazy. As a kid, they're trying to put you through juvenile, and then from juvenile you go to adult. And my mom, they had a lawyer at the time, and they brought up the school thing. They said, look, he's not a bad kid. He's just with the wrong people, but he has good grades. So the whole having decent grades is what made me look like I was a good kid. Um, so anyway, they came up with this stupid idea to send me to Africa. So they sent me to boarding school. That was the plan. I would leave the country. I would go to boarding school, and I would live there. I live with a host family, right? But in a boarding school. So they agreed to that because that's where they felt that the most reform would come from, right? Get him out the country, get him away from the people that are supposedly keeping him to be this bad, violent kid, and send him somewhere else. So I go to Africa for 2 years. And when I was there, I experienced actually most racism I ever felt was there, actually, to
That
be
is
crazy. I mean, yeah, you would think that, like, you're a black dude, you go to a black country and they can be like, oh my God, yeah, you're amazing. No, it was the opposite. For them, I wasn't the real black, right? They used to call me in their language the kid who eats butter. So they tried to say I was soft. Yeah. So then now I'm in this place trying to find myself, and I spent a lot of time fighting because over there everything is based on respect for your elder. And your elder doesn't mean like 20 years older. If it's 1 day older, you can't even say dude's name. You got to call him brother if it's 1 day older. So people were just a little bit crazy with that. So I spent a lot of time fighting out there trying to earn respect. Then I joined this crazy thing called Man of War. And Man of War is like, I, I don't even want to say Boy Scouts because it's nowhere near Boy Scouts. But if you think of what Boy Scouts is, times it by 10,000, it's like being in this most militant army without being in the army. But you do all the training, all the crazy stuff, like they would make you stand up and just fall straight down, like on your arms, like just real crazy stuff. And so I joined this, and then I started to get a lot of respect because everyone knew about this organization, and this was like the, hard organization. So I joined this, got a lot stronger. Then I was supposed to come back to visit. I was supposed to come back to visit after a year, and I spent the whole year saying if I come back, I'm never coming back. So they tore my ticket up. So I spent a whole another year saying that, yeah, I'm coming. I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back. Then I got here. I came to visit my mom, and I decided I wasn't going back.
so. How old were you at this
I
point?
was like, at the time I was 16, and I was like, I'm not going back. And I told my mom, if you send me back, I will get off the first stop that plane makes. You'll never see me again, right? Because I really hated being in that place, and so I wind up staying, but the abuse still continued, right? Being away, it's like this kind of like fairy tale thing that you go away and you come back and life is good and it's great and everything has changed. That's what you think. But the other half of me was saying, well, now that I've went through all this training, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I can finally protect my mom. Right. So that was the most important. The most important thing was being able to finally protect my mom. And I remember coming back. That was the thing that I thought about the most. Right. But on the other side, I was like, well, probably this is not even happening anymore. Right. Because, we go away to some place, we come back and we think everything's going to be great. But it wasn't. It was just as bad as I left. And there was an incident where he grabbed my mom by the throat, and then I turned around and I just looked, and he said to me, he goes, "What are you looking at? If you look over here, you're gonna get the same thing." And then I just completely lost it. Like when you're a kid growing up with that kind of abuse, there's gonna be one day where you're gonna explode, and it's gonna be it. And that was the day I ran out the house. I don't even remember running out the house, but I ran out and I came back with a gun. My next door neighbor, friend of mine's, it's part of my gang. That's where we kept guns. I used to keep them, but I was away, so everything was at his house. I went and got a gun, came back, and I put the gun to my stepfather's head, and I was gonna kill my stepfather that day. So bring you back to your question, the changing moment was that, because when I put the gun in my stepfather's head, I really wanted to end his life. I wanted nothing more than to end his life. Then my mom calls the police, and my mom says, "You guys need to hurry. My son's trying to kill my husband." Not that my son's trying to protect me, not that my husband was choking the hell out of me or beating me. My son's trying to kill my husband. And at that point, I just like you know I I can't even explain it. Like my it was almost like my soul just kind of left, and I started shaking, and it was crazy. And then I put the gun to my mom's face, and I was gonna shoot my mom and my stepfather. But at the same time, all of this is happening really fast. She did call the police, right? They can be here any second. And these things are happening so fast, and the emotions are so fast. And I had like, I don't know if you call it divine intervention, little birdie, whatever you believe in, says to me, I hear something says, "Hey, if you do this right now, every single thing your stepfather said about you is going to happen today." Right? My stepfather will always say I would be dead, I would be in jail, I would never be successful, I'd be a failure. You name it, he said it. And I hated him so much that I couldn't let anything he ever said become true. So it was more important that that didn't happen than for me to take both their lives. And so I said, you guys deserve each other, and I left, and I never went back. And for a year, I felt I don't know what's the word. I was what's the word I want to use? I was very confused about why I didn't do it, right? Because that was the thing that I wanted to do all my life, was to end my stepfather's life, and I had the chance to do it, and I was right there, and I could have done it, but I didn't. Um, I think that was probably the most difficult thing in my life, was not doing it, because I really wanted to do it. Walking away was the most difficult thing, and that bothered me for a pretty long time. I was just kind of going through some, just fighting with myself, and it's the thing of listening to yourself say, "Yo, man, you're a puss. You could have done it. You didn't do it." And they're listening to, you know, people on the other side, like people I was in the gang with, "Bro, what the hell? You had your chance, you did it, and just going through all this crazy things in your brain. But I did choose to walk away from it. After that, I lived in the street for a year, so it was more like kind of like hanging out every day, breaking night, sleeping at a friend's house if I could, if not, riding the trains all night long, from Brooklyn to the Bronx, Bronx to the Brooklyn. um yeah, and that right there was um the first step. I wouldn't say into change, but the first step in realizing that maybe I could listen to myself. you know maybe maybe I do have maybe I am capable of just walking away, right? Because I've never walked away in my life. I've never walked away. If somebody wanted to engage, then we engage. So that right there was the toughest thing I've ever done, and that kind of started the momentum of change was there, because now I'm living in the street. Nothing to do, and that's where I find ping pong, which is weird. And ping pong is a sport that I actually hated.
So now you're 17, basically, right? Uh, you're 17 years old. You have no relationship with your mom anymore. You're living on the streets. How do you find ping pong?
Yeah, so ping pong is so weird.
Feels like the last thing you would have found at that point.
Exactly. So they had ping pong in my school, and I hated it. I used to shit on all the kids that played it. Hope they never see these podcasts. But yeah, I was the worst, man. I would walk in, but look at these kids with their short shorts and a stick. I used to make fun of them all the time. And I started to shoot pool, like billiards. And in the pool hall that I was shooting, they had some ping pong tables. And I got hustled for some money that I didn't really have. Got angry, took the pool stick, hit it on the table. Pool stick shattered. Um, then, like I told you before, if I did anything, I had to take it out on other people. So I shattered a pool stick by mistake. Right across from me are some kids playing ping pong, and it was almost like the perfect storm. It was like, oh yeah, I hate that. I that is. So I go up to them and says, hey, I want to get a hit. And the kid said, oh, you play? I said, I don't play this shit. Just give me the paddle. So he gives me the paddle. Now the idea, I couldn't just go punch a kid in his face in the pool hall with a lot of people, right? Um, everything I did, even when I was doing my whole gang thing, everything I did was calculated. I never did stuff without thinking. I was always smart. That's the word. I was always smart about what I did. I never just did things, right? And this is another situation where, that held true. I figured, okay, he's gonna hit the ball to me, and I'm gonna smash him in the face with the ball. Just hit him right in the face. That was the plan, and then at least I'd feel good. And so the kid hits the ball to me. I go to hit the ball at his face, but the angle of the racket was down. So when I go to hit the ball goes on the table. And the kid goes, wow, that's amazing. He's like, that's a great shot. I thought you said you didn't play this sport. I was like, I don't play this, bro. Right. And he's like, man, he's like, you got to go check out this ping pong club. There's a ping pong club where people, and I said, what? I said, what do you mean? I said, there's a place where people get together and play this. I said, there's no way that's possible. So I'm telling you, man. He said, it's amazing. And I was like, this kid's got to be nuts. Now, at that time, like I said, I was an athlete. Like I love sports. Sports is what kept me calm. And I started thinking maybe there is a place where people play this. And I had to go see it. I think, is this real? I got to go see it. So I go down to this ping pong place to go check it out. It's actually a pool hall, another
Where
pool hall.
where was it?
It was in 50th Street and 11th Avenue. So now I think Kenneth Cole owns that building. And it was a big pool hall that in the back had like a lot of ping pong tables, right? So I go to this place to check it out. I walk in and I hear people making all this noise, like, whatever. And as I get closer, I noticed that every person there was black. And I was like, what? Black people play this? Because for me, only Asians played this. Like black people didn't play this. And it was just crazy. It was like I was in a different world. They're all black, some from like the islands or from Africa. That's where ping pong is bigger. And immediately I was like, wait a minute, if black people play this, maybe I can play this too. Like it just changed from the hate of the sport because I saw people like me playing it. Right? I never thought that people like me play this. I thought it was like this corny sport that was for like girls. And so anyway, I get interested in the sport. I start going to the club because remember I don't have a place to stay, and I start going to the club. Now that this is becoming my place because you don't have to pay to get in, right? You just pay to rent your table. So I would just go hang out. I would just go hang out, sit down, watch people, try to talk to people or something, and no one will play with me because the sport is very cliquey, and people won't play with you if they don't know you because they figure you're not good enough. So and it's not like pickleball where there's like open plays. Like open plays don't exist. Like you go there with a partner with a group, and that's how it is. So finally, this old guy would come and play with me. He was like 70 years old, and he would play with me, and he would kick my ass so bad. Like he'd beat me like 21-3, 21-2. Old dude, and I would get so tight because I'm a super athlete. I played basketball, football, wrestling, volleyball. I played everything, and at high levels. And I was like, how am I losing to this sport to this 70-year-old guy? And he would beat me so badly, and it made me want to play more, right? Because I was like, I can't let this 70-year-old beat me, so I spend more time. And then eventually, I met some dude, random dude, comes up to me, and he says, "Hey, do you have a partner?" And I was like, "No, I don't have a partner." He goes, "Well, I'm looking for a steady partner to hit with me, like maybe once or twice a week, and I'll pay $20." And I was like, $20.
You're like, wait, you'll pay
Now,
me?
now, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I sucked, but I had basics. I could hit the ball consistently, right? There's not a sport that I can't pick up and immediately learn it quickly. So I was able to hit balls. So I would hit with this guy, and he would pay me $20 every time we played. And so, you know, he became like I wouldn't say like a father figure, but he was older, and I needed that at that time, and I would talk to him and tell him like things I was going through. But I think like for him, it was more like a TV show. A lot of my life is like a TV show. If you don't know anyone who's lived that life, if you've never met someone who came from that life or lived that life or been around people, it's like a TV show, right? It's hard to understand how kids have guns. But if you look at the news, if you read the news, they all have them, right? It's something that's very easy to get. It's not like it's difficult to get. It's very easy. Um, so for him, I think my life was like a TV show at first. And I don't think he was taking things that I was saying seriously. Then one day I went to the club and 22 fell out of my bag. It's a gun, very small gun, about that big. Fell out of my bag in front of him. And the first thing I thought, I always say this, was like, damn, there goes my $20. I was, I was like, that's the only thing I was thinking about was $20, right? Because I mean, who's 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 gonna call me back and be like, yeah, we want to play with you, right? So I figured that would be the end of that. I picked up the gun, I left. I didn't say anything. I was like, I gotta go because I don't know what he's gonna do. He's gonna call police. I don't know. I don't want to stay around for that. And so I pick it up, I leave, and he calls me 2 days later and says, "Hey, are we still playing?" I was like, "Okay, that's weird." But the first thing I thought about was $20. I'm in the streets. $20 is food, man. So I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go. So I go meet him. I go meet him at the club. We play a little bit, and he goes, "Hey, I want to invite you to my home to meet my family," which is weird. And I'm like, all right, this is getting a little weird. Why is this guy trying to invite me to his home to meet his family? You know, it sounds kind of like a little strange. Is he playing for the team? Like what's going on? But I was always packing, so it didn't matter. Like if you invite me to your house to do some dumb shit, then it's not going to be a good day for you. So I was like, all right, let's go. So we go to his house, and he had a house near Hunter Mountain. It's like 2.5 hours away from New York City, so it's a long ride. And we get there, and his family lives there, right? Because he had an apartment in New York, but his house is there. And we get there, they're all ready for like dinner. Everyone's sitting down at this big table, right? The kids and the wife, and everyone's like happy, go lucky, and cheery, and oh, thank you, yes, please, no, please, passing food to each other, like I don't know, like it's like some vacation place. And I was getting real angry because I'm like, why is this guy bring me here? You know, I don't even know what's going on. Like why am I here seeing this? Like the way I grew up. So why are you putting this in my face? I don't want to see this. I don't want to see how happy your family is. I was getting very angry. When I get angry, I get violent, and I was like, just so angry, man. And the guy goes, "Listen, I want to help you, right?" And I think that I want to help you is what calmed down the anger. And I was like, "What you mean you want to help me?" He goes, "I know you like ping pong a lot, and I know you've been trying to get better." He goes, "I have a connection in Germany, and I want to pay for you to go learn ping pong." And I was like,
Wow.
"What?" And in my mind, the only thing I knew about Germany was Hitler. So I'm like, why is this dude trying to send me to Germany? I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But I did know that where I was isn't where I wanted to be, right? I talk about this a lot. In that lifestyle, there's two kind of people. There's ones who who's lost their humanity, and there's ones who haven't. The ones who've lost their humanity are the ones that will end your brother's life and then have lunch with you tomorrow, like nothing happened. I know people like that. I knew people like that. And then there are those like me who we still have our humanity. We may do really bad stuff or really messed up things, um, but we feel bad for it, right? I've never done some offlandish thing and felt like yeah, or maybe at the moment you might feel yeah because the adrenaline is so high. But I've always went back and said, damn, that was messed up. Damn, maybe we shouldn't have went that far. Damn, maybe we shouldn't have gone that hard. Damn, maybe we shouldn't have done it that time, right? So I always knew that that's not where I belong, or that's not where I should be. That's not where I want my life to go. So I took a chance and I was like, okay, I'll do it. I think 99.9% of people in my shoes at that time would have said, are you crazy? I'm not going to Germany. Like, I'm going to leave here and go to some country I don't even know. But like I said, I knew that it's not a place that I wanted to be for the rest of my life. Right. I knew how I was when I got violent, and I didn't like it. I never thought it was like cool. I never thought it was like, I didn't like what I became when I got violent. So if this was going to help me, then let's do it. And so I agreed, and he paid for me. He paid for me. He paid for me to go to Germany. I went to Hanover. It was the first place I went, and I lived with a bunch of kids who excelled in sports. Like it's a sports school, so these kids don't live at home; they all live at the school, and there was multiple sports. Right? I did the ping pong thing, and that was how I started. That was the first step into the biggest change of my life.
And so, how long did you stay in Germany?
So I was in Germany for originally for 3 months. But prior to that, the year before I went to Germany, I went to a tournament to watch, and I met some pro players. And like I said, I was a very crazy kid. I would go up to these pro players and say, "Hey, are you really the number one player in the world? You don't look like the number one player in the world." and and then I would have some conversation and say, "Oh yeah, I'm getting into this." And one of them said, "If you ever want to really learn, then you have to come to Germany." Right? And guess where I was? I was in Germany. And the player was a very famous player. And when I was there, I reached out and said, "Hey, I'm in Germany. I'm in Germany now." And they were like, "What? Who's this kid in Germany?" So there was like, you have to come to Hergenshausen. And Hergenshausen, this is a really weird. You gotta remember now, like I'm still this violent kid. Like I didn't change. Like people, I don't change overnight, right? But there were some things that kind of helped me to open up more, right? First of all, I have all these kids who are like, "You're from America. We love America." This was back in the days when people actually loved
Liked
America.
America, yeah.
You know,
Good old days.
oh my God, you're from New York. We love New York. How's New York? Oh my God, it's great. It's great. And I was like, bro, what's wrong with these people? Like they were all in my face, right? And it was hard to be angry and violent when people are singing your praises and they're like, "We love you," right? How do you? And so I was confused. I was like really confused. And there's a term that I always say when I talk about this. It's called killing you with kindness, right? That's exactly what that is. That's it. It's so hard to punch someone in the face who's telling you, "I love you," unless you've lost your humanity, like I mentioned before. And I've never lost my humanity. So people are saying, "Hey, we love you, we love you." I'm like, okay, you people are crazy, but kind of like this, and eventually, uh, the little birdie, the one that saved me from before, comes and says, "Hey, why are you angry? Why are you upset? You are not in an abusive home. You're not with people who only like you because you can pick up your gun. You're with people who want nothing from you, and all they want to do is be your friend. And they like you just because you're you. Why are you angry? And then I thought to myself, yeah, why am I angry? And so I started to open up more. I started to be a little nicer. I started to smile more, joke around more. And that was the first change that you could see. Like I was just trying to make friends. I never tried to make friends before. Um, so anyway, after that, I go to the town to go meet the person that I met. His name was Thomas Kynet, right? He was one of the crazier players from the German team. And Hergenshausen is such a weird place. It's the closest city to it would be called Koblenz, right? But Hergenshausen is in the mountains. So you have to go up into the mountains to get to Hergenshausen. That's the bigger, I want to say, I don't know if you call it, it's like a countryside, right? But it's up in the mountains. Then within that small part, there's a place called Grensau. And Grensau is a town that has literally, I think, 500 people. It's literally a town of 500 people. But the number one Bundesliga, so Bundesliga is like soccer. It's the professional team. In Germany, it's called the Bundesliga. And the Bundesliga is the number one. It's like the NBA for all sports. So all sports are going to be called Bundesliga, like the soccer, whatever, tennis, whatever. But the number one is called Bundesliga. Then if it's the number second level, right, which would be like the ABA or something, it would be called Zweiliga, like two. So anyway, I went to go practice with the number one Bundesliga ping pong team in the world. And that experience was just crazy. And people were so nice to me. And then I met someone who was like a legend in this sport, right? He was the coach. So it was, the atmosphere was just like a wow atmosphere for someone who's getting into the sport for the first time. It's like I'm playing with these players, like these world famous players. The coach is this world famous guy, and I think that for a kid like me was really huge, and that made me want to do it more, and it made me want to. It was just that wow factor, like wow, I can't believe I'm here with all these insane, super famous people, and playing with them on the same court, the same table. Um, and then that's when change started. That was the first, when it was like, yeah, I'm doing this is real. It's not a dream anymore. It's real.
So what happens next?
So then after that, I come back to America. All right, now I'm pretty good at ping pong. Because here I am playing with like the best of the best. I'm pretty good. I come back, start playing tournaments, start winning some tournaments, some competitions, and I got a big break. I was playing a smaller competition that was in Chinatown, New York City, and there was a kid who had came from China who was visiting, and there's a lot of Chinese players, mostly all Chinese players are playing, and as I'm playing, this Chinese kid is going like yeah, yeah, making all these crazy noises in the middle of points, like just yelling, like chow, chow, chow. And I was like, what's wrong with this dude? So then I was like, all right, you want to play this? I'll play this too. So I start bringing like this hood ghetto mentality. I'm like, come on, baby, that's it. We send him back today. He going back. We're talking mad trash on the table, and we going back and forth. And then right after that match, someone comes up to me and he says, hey, do you know Rockstar Games? I was like, of course, Rockstar Games, man, bro. I know it. It's Grand Theft Auto. It's my favorite game in the world. And they go, well, we're going to make the world's first ping pong game. Before they even said, would you be interested? I was like, hell yeah. I was like, for sure, 100%. 100%. I was like, I'm down. And he was like, well, we're going to make this game. I said, yeah, I figured that if you're coming up to me in a ping pong place. And so I helped Rockstar create the world's first ping pong game called Rockstar Presents Table Tennis. Then I thought, wait a minute, this is huge. I can't just make a game and that's it. I was like, you know what? I got this level. I want to go pro. I'm going to ask Rockstar Games to sponsor me. And so I was like trying to figure out, well, how do you get a company to sponsor you? I don't know.
How
Someone
much do you
says,
even
oh, you
ask
got to
for?
make it. Well, I didn't ask for money. Well, this is what I did. Someone says, you got to make a budget letter. And I was like, what's a budget letter? And they explained to me. So what I did was I just kind of calculated all the tournaments in a year, right? In 1 year. And I calculated how much money I would need, whether it's the hotel and fees. I just kind of like put stuff together. And then someone said, I remember that's when I learned the word miscellaneous for the first time. Someone said, oh man, you got to put the miscellaneous. I said, what the hell? What was miscellaneous? So what is that? He's like, bro, that's the extra money that you're going to put in your pocket. And I was like, oh, all right. So I put the miscellaneous. And I think it came out to, if I remember, it's like almost 80K.
Wow.
Something like that. And they gave me, if I remember correctly, was 60K a year to play ping pong around the world and to promote this new ping pong game. And by the way, this ping pong game beat every sports game. It beat Madden, it beat NBA Live, it beat every game, every sports game. This ping pong game was the number one game. And the reason why it was number one was because people couldn't believe Rockstar Games was making a ping pong game. It was the talk of the video game world. They were like, what? Rockstar Games is known for making violent games. So people were like, a ping pong game? It was like,
what year
what's
was
going to
this?
happen? This was probably maybe 2009, if I remember correctly. You can check it on Google. And people were going crazy. Like they couldn't believe it. That a ping, they were like, are you going to throw rackets and people's heads are going to get cut off? People could not figure it out. And then when it came out, people were like, oh shit, it's really a ping pong game. But the thing with the game was, it was one of those games that was really easy to play. So, but it was hard, really hard to master it. But to start out, it was very, like, if you were a button presser, you could play this game. And so, I did 90% of the motion capture for this game. So I put a lot of work into this. Like I said, they sponsored me. I was the coolest person on the tour, man. I was the worst pro, but even though I was the worst pro, I had the best gear, bro. I had my shirt, Rockstar Games, Rockstar logo, shorts, Rockstar Game, Rockstar logo, Rockstar Game hat, jackets. People were eating this up. They were like, because everyone knows Rockstar Games, so people were eating it up, and that was like how I started to play pro. Was because Rockstar Games funded it for years, for a couple of years, and it was crazy. And then I went through a bunch of transitions on just mindset on how to get better. How can I actually compete with these pros and stuff like that.
And I guess on the ping pong side, how far were you able to go?
Well, I played all over the world for the U.S. team, so I played at the highest level, every major country in the world. Took a lot of ass whipping. That especially the first year. The first year was brutal, man. But it's a testimony to my will of never giving up. Like I think the first year I lost every match. You know what it's like to travel to 13 countries in a year? You figure 13 countries in a year, you're playing 4 or 5 matches per country, and you've lost all of them, all the whole year, everyone. And not only that, not only did you lose all of them, you didn't even get 5 points. Like you didn't get 5 points. So you're losing 11-2, 11-3, 11-1, 11-2, 4 out of 7 games. Boom. Next one, 11-2, 11-3, 11-1.
And
Yeah.
how do you manage to stay on the team through that? Like,
Well, that part of it has nothing to do with the team. right? Because I'm playing for my country, right? And that's different because my play in America is good, right? It's when you go to international, it's a different story because international level is different, right? When you leave the country, it's very, 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 very different, right? If you take the best basketball player in China, how good are they in America? Not that good, right? That's why there aren't many basketball players from China, right? So, but you can be great in your country, but now you go to another country or to a field where the field is bigger, where everyone is great or greater. Now you become the lowest one in the totem pole. So, and it is not because I didn't have the skill level, it's because I had the wrong mindset. So I had to change the way I thought about the sport. In my mind, because I was always great at every sport, I would think, oh, I can beat these guys. I can beat these guys. Right. And by doing that, I wasn't allowing myself to learn. Right. So I was just losing, but not understanding why I lost until I changed my mindset and I started making goals. I started making smaller goals. And this is important for everyone in anything you do in life. You got to make goals that actually make sense, right? It's good for the end result to be a huge goal, but you need smaller ones to get there. So what I started doing was I started saying, you know what? Let me just get 5 points. If I can get 5 points in one of these games, I'm the world champion. And I believed it. I put it in my head and I believed it. And people, and this is why I became so famous in the world. People thought I was crazy because I would get 5 points in one game. I'm like, yeah, I go crazy, man. People are drunk. It's like, this guy just lost. And, and, uh, and I kept doing this. I would be losing matches, right? 4-0, but I would get 5 points. And no one knew that these were little goals that I made. And when you make a smaller goal, you have to celebrate this goal. So every time I celebrated with the yeah, it made me want to do it again. And I'd focus. And I started doing that, going from that to winning games. Let me just get one game. One game. If I get one game, I'm the champion. And then I started noticing that the media was coming to me. Like they weren't going to the guys who won. Normally, the interview comes to the guy who wins, not the guy who lost, but they started coming to me because they wanted to know what's going on. Like, um, and then, I got better and I started winning some matches. Um, and then, now everyone knows me in the world. Like they started putting me on TV tables, which is crazy. Like, because normally if you play in the preliminary, normally you have to play a preliminary round. And if you get out of the preliminary round of 4 players, only one gets out. Then you go to the first round. So normally preliminary round doesn't get a TV table, right? They usually play, but there's no TV. And if you do, you might get one. I noticed everywhere I was going in the world, they would put me on a TV table. And I would get upset. And I would say, hey, why you keep putting me on? I remember one time specifically in China, I was playing China Open and I had 3 matches, 2 of my matches on TV table in the qualification. That's impossible. And so I went there, I was so angry. I said, hey, why you keep putting me on the TV table? I said, can you just put me on any other table? I don't need to be on the TV table. And this was when I knew I had something that no one in the world had. The Chinese guy goes, Wally, no, you are good for TV. And he said that, and I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute, you know what? There's nobody like me that plays this sport in the world. There's no one with my character. There's no one with my background. There's no one with that fire, that intensity, especially with the yellow hair and crazy designs in it. Like, there's no one. And then I realized, I was like, you know what? I don't need to be number one. Why I need to be number one? I need to be number one, right? But I will be the most popular player in the world. So then I started playing more for fun and more for enjoyment and more for that highlight reel. And then that's when people really started noticing because now I didn't have that stress of trying to be number one, right? Now I'm playing free and I'm playing for fun. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And that's how I went through the whole ping pong thing. I started getting a lot of interviews, you know, um, started using the sport to do really cool things. Like, I did a lot of charities, for underprivileged kids, ping pong for poverty, you know. Through that, I got interviewed by Steve Harvey. It's on the Steve Harvey show. Um, you know, then I even did a diplomacy for world peace to North Korea. I think I just made a video about that. I think it's like 0.00.5% of the entire world has ever stepped foot in North Korea. I'm one of those people. Went to do diplomacy for world peace through ping pong. So not only did the sport kind of like change my life, it saved my life, and it also gave me the opportunity to do things that's much bigger than myself, and that I think is a really good thing.
So, a couple things just before we close. Have you and your mom ever reconciled?
Now, my mom passed away um, about 3 years ago, and I made a video about this actually when it happened. When she passed away, I didn't have any feeling towards it. Like, I genuinely didn't care. And during it was Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I made a video which is on my Instagram, and it talks about domestic violence and how you should get help. And I tell the story of what I went through, and in the end, I say, don't be me and don't be my mom. Like, I genuinely didn't care. And people kept telling me, "Oh, it's going to hit you later," and it's not going to hit me because I could never. I tried to connect with her, but people in that situation, they don't want to admit to it, right? I just need you to apologize for what you did, for what you let happen, right? That's what I wanted. That's what I needed, right? That still hurts me till today. I mean, I never got the apology from it. So because she wouldn't give me that closure, when I would talk to her, I would feel very violent. So now we're talking years later. Now I'm going back to where I started, right? Like, I would literally lash out at people for no reason, and then and what's funny? It took the pandemic to figure this out, because I would just get angry like for no reason. Like, if you asked me, if you said, "Oh, uh, how's your mother? Have you seen your mother?" I would like flip on you, bro, like crazy. And I was like, all right, yeah, this is this. I was like, I learned a lot during the pandemic, and I was like, you know what? This is no, I can't. And so I just stopped trying, and I knew she was sick through my stepbrother, who also passed away, which is wild. Um, and I just kind of just ignored everyone. I cut all family off. I cut that whole side of the family. Um, my mom had five brothers who all were in the military. How is it possible that this dude never had broken legs? Like, I don't get it. Like, if I have a sister and someone, and my sister's married to some dude, and this dude's beating up on my sister, giving her black eyes, I promise you, I will be in front of your house very early in the morning until you come out the house. And it's going to be a bad day. So I don't understand how it's possible. That's never happened. So I cut them off too. I just cut every single family member off, everyone just off. And I'm much happier, much calmer. Sometimes I might have my days where, um, the ghetto comes out, but it's not without warning. Like, I always warn. I always give a warning. Before I didn't warn. Now I'm able to give a warning. Now I'll say, like, my number one words are, just leave it alone. That's it. That's me telling you, like, bro, like, it's gonna get crazy right now. So I always say, just leave it alone. Leave it alone. So I've been able to do that which is way. I came up such a far way from just jumping on people. Now just leave it alone. So yeah, so I'm good, bro. I just do me now, and try to help people and try to that I I did a TED talk, so I try to inspire people, and that's my thing. And then trolling my other side. People wonder why I troll, and they don't get it, And I'll say it here. This will be the first podcast I've ever said it on.
Here
Why I
we
troll?
go.
I troll a lot on the internet. I troll a lot. Like, you can see my comments, but I don't troll just to troll. I troll certain things. Like, you say something stupid, I'm trolling you. Say something that doesn't make sense, I'm trolling you. Right? If I see a stupid video, I'm trolling you. Right? So the trolling is not just trolling the trolling, but if someone like me who is extremely violent, right? I mean, you're talking about a dude who would pistol whip you just for looking at me wrong, who would shoot at you for looking at me wrong. I think trolling on the internet is
Much,
a lot less
much,
violent,
much safer activity.
much safer. Exactly, much safer activity. And the trolling is fun for me. People think I'm angry. I'm never angry when I'm trolling. It's just funny. People get angry, like they get tight and uptight, and I'm sitting back here laughing. But yeah, so that's my thing. Inspiration with a touch of trolling.
I love it. I mean, thank you for telling us your story. It really is an amazing story, and it's different. I'm sure in the last number of years you've been able to touch a lot of people and hopefully set some kids back on the right direction.
Yeah, that's my goal, man. The younger kids who are going through the things that I was going through, and these kids today, they're they're different. The kids today, they're they'll shoot you for nothing, literally for no reason. Like, it doesn't even have to be a reason. So if I can get to these kids like before, they do something really stupid that they're gonna regret about later, you know, uh, that's usually the best thing. And a lot of the younger kids, they listen to me because they know that I went through this. I've been through that, right? And I was lucky enough. I wouldn't even say lucky. I was able to redirect those energies into something more positive.
That's amazing, and thank you for everything you do. And I'll have to get across the river and we'll play some pickleball sometime.
Let's go. Let's go. Always ready. Always ready.
And I love trolling too, so it'll be
Great.
fun.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Love it.
All right, Wally, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming on the podcast, and we'll see you soon.
I appreciate you.
You bet.